Say we've made progress, right? When they never really truly change lives. Oh, the poverty line is here, and you're making a grand more. We've done you a big favor. Vote for me. Well, my next guest is taking this whole proposition to a whole new level, and everyone has a strong opinion about his Substack titled "How a Broken Benchmark Quietly Brought America Down." Let's bring in now Simplify Asset Management, their chief strategist, Mike Green. My man. Golly, people are going nuts. First, I just want the idea of what to even go down this rabbit hole.
Well,
Golly.
down this, we'd actually talked about a couple of the pieces that I've done before on this, where I was just
hold on. I gotta hear that, man. Again, I gotta hear that again. That's hilarious. He's trying to make poverty fun, like it's a frenzy. Like poverty is like it's like the Beatles or something. Golly, people are going nuts. The teeny boppers are coming out. You're poor.
Golly, people are going nuts. First, I just want the idea of what led you to even go down this rabbit hole.
Well, what actually sent me down this, we'd actually talked about a couple of the pieces that I've done before on this, where I was just candidly horrified by the reaction that we saw on Twitter to a right-wing influencer posting a somewhat inaccurate picture of a house saying, in 1950, a single income could afford this, right? There was an incredibly coordinated and messaging backlash that basically boiled down to, what possible right do you have to expect this? You're nothing, right? That framework ultimately sent me down the path of saying, hey, wait a second, this is actually really missing something that people are trying to convey. And as I dug into the numbers, and I wrote this on my piece, I was candidly horrified, because as somebody who comes out of the financial world, who has done very well and is an incredibly appreciated,
who's incredibly rich, I'm horrified that I have to live next to these bottom feeders. That's what he's really saying.
For it, and whose children have been successful.
Right.
I look at this and I'm like, this is something I never really spent a lot of time thinking about.
Right.
But the minute you dig into it, you discover that there's actually a terrible story out
So maybe you were...
He's like, wow, I looked into the numbers and, wow, people are eating literally air sandwiches. Sandwiches made of air.
living in an ivory tower and didn't know it?
I absolutely knew I was living in an ivory tower. My life is like, very few people have this.
The real...
I'm literally I don't want to say it. He's like, I'm sitting on a gold toilet. I can't believe that when I take a shit, it literally just lands on like the table of a dirty old family down the road. I can't believe they're eating my own shit.
Math of survival, though. So we're talking about real survival, real poverty line. Child care, 32,000. Housing, 23,000. Food, almost 15,000. Transportation, almost 15,000. Health care, almost 11,000. Other essentials, 22,000. Add in taxes. You're saying the real poverty line is 140,000, essentially.
It is very close. And I want to just be clear that 140,000 doesn't mean you are literally poor, right? We're not talking about, country poor sort of stuff. What I'm describing there is that's really the threshold at which you can cover all of the expenses without government assistance and start saving.
No, what he's really saying is like, okay, $140,000 a year. All right, this is the level where you can actually afford a Chipotle burrito.
Right, start preparing for your future. That's a very, very different place than most people think it.
Preparing for your future, what does that mean? Like preparing to pay higher bills as inflation rises over and over and over again? Oh, it's crazy. They make this so pleasant and bite-sized. How the hell is crypto going to survive?
Now, obviously, people hit you and saying, and you talked about this a little bit in the piece, that, hey, it's a lot different in Mississippi than it is in Manhattan.
It's a lot different in Mississippi, and what's been so interesting to me is actually the anger and frustration and resentment of that number is typically coming from people who don't have kids. Right? I see a lot of young, informed, intelligent commentators like, this is absolutely ridiculous, $32,000 for childcare. And in the meantime, the vast majority of my comments that are coming in are from people who are actually in that situation saying you're 100% right. This is exactly my experience.
The lies, the housing lie, the hedonic lie. What's the housing lie?
Well, the story with the housing lie is this idea that you can afford to buy this house if you just be willing to settle. And this goes back to the piece that I wrote before an individual had said, look, the problem is everybody expects larger houses today. They expect nicer houses today. Well, the reality is they expected that in 1955 as well. The homes that were being built at 1,100 to 1,200 square foot at that time period were dramatic improvements. Many people are now out saying 20% of the homes in 1950 didn't have indoor plumbing. 0% of the new houses in 1950 didn't have indoor plumbing. They were all being brought up to standards of the day. If you look at that exact same house today.
Wow, he's saying, hey, be happy that you're not taking a dump in an outhouse, okay? Be happy you're not taking a dump in an outhouse like they did 50 years ago, okay? Listen, I know you're poor, but at least you can take a dump inside your house.
It is nowhere near affordable. It is impossible for most families in a place like Essex County, New Jersey, which was the area that I was responding to in the initial post. They just can't afford it. There's nothing there for them.
The optical illusion of prosperity, what's that about?
Well, we absolutely have progressed as a society, right? I'm sitting on this stage wearing very nice clothes and warm air conditioning, or warm HVAC serviced environment. My life is dramatically richer and better than my grandfather's life was. But
he almost slipped and said, then like everybody in America is. That's so funny.
Reality is that base level of participation, the level at which I can start to contribute and start to benefit from how society has improved, has risen alongside that.
One of my favorite guests, a really great thinker, Colin Roach, responded. And then you responded to his response, and you said, there's never been a better time to be born into human existence than this very instance. And the only time is the next instance, right? On this, we agree. But is that really true anymore?
He says, you said there's never been a better time to be born into human existence than this very instant, when it costs, when it costs, when a McDonald's value meal costs like $20, when gas is like freaking, I mean, in California, it's around $5. I mean, if you're right in LA, it's at $6, I think, at least. That's crazy. I mean, they get these guys to come out and just lie, like, right to your face, when the real issue is just, it's inflation. It's insane.
I mean, that was always, it always felt like that was the American promise, but is that the case right now? Because, again, going back to what I see on social media, particularly from young folks, they'll show a picture of some old couple dancing, say, yeah, they're dancing because they sold their house for $2 million they bought with a bag of apples. A lot of people don't believe this is true anymore.
This is one of the challenges, right? You try to speak an element of truth and people immediately attack you as ignoring all the other components of it. I firmly believe that now is the best time to be born, and the only time better would be in the next minute, right? As human beings, we have an incredible capacity for affection and innovation and social support of each other. Right now, we're just caught in a framework in which we're not doing that. And people are trying to say, if you're talking badly about the current situation, you aren't appreciative and you don't understand how much better it is than when we were slaves in serfdom. There's absolutely truth to that.
So wait a minute. So he's saying, he's saying right now is the best time to be born. I don't know, man. I mean, and then he's saying also that that 140K a year is not only not a big deal, but it's attainable. It's not, you know what I mean? Like, it is something everybody can make, and you really shouldn't have a problem. That's crazy. That's crazy. I mean, two liars tricking people. Yep. What's up? It's insane. I want to look at one couple other things here. Here's some folks. Let's really hear from the people. I mean, let's hear from the people.
why is it normalized for people to have 2 jobs and have a side hustle just to survive?
$15 an hour is poverty.
What should be considered an livable wage?
Oh, nobody wants to work anymore. This generation's so lazy. I'm applying for jobs right now. I am looking at jobs online. I'm sorry, $3.27 an hour, $1 a year. And these are not restaurant jobs either. I'm fully aware that waiters and waitresses make all their money from tips and they make below minimum wage. These are not restaurant jobs. This is working at a shoe store. This is working at the winery. What the And yes, also I'm aware that it says part-time jobs. I'm looking at part-time, full-time, literally any job that I can get my hands on. They're all like this. I mean, like, other than the gas station, the grocery store, and the nearest hotel, this is what the job options are like. Nobody wants to work these days. No, they're not even paying a livable wage. They're not even paying minimum wage.
Bro, do you think this chick has a chance to make $140,000 a year? Even if she had, like, it doesn't look like she has a partner or a husband that where they can come together and make 140K. It looks like this chick's life is a complete and utter mess. And she's got a nose ring and she's asking for work, but I mean, hey, I own a business. You probably own a business if you're in crypto, or maybe you're, you know, maybe you're high level. I don't know. Maybe you're just a DoorDash guy. I don't know. But even if you don't own a business, if you had one, would you hire this lady? Would you hire this lady? I wouldn't. But she's demanding at least, you know, $15 an hour. But that's the whole point about all of this, guys, is that the poverty line is 140K a year. It's not like people can just go and get a job and make it do and be above poverty. You actually have to be skilled. You actually have to have a good head on your shoulders, maybe be educated. I mean, I honestly, maybe even those things aren't even in play anymore. You might have to just be born into money. Maybe you just have to be attached to a boomer that's done well, whether it be your mom or dad or, you know, uncle or just family all in general, where you can possibly inherit something. What I'm trying to say is that the American public in general are fast talking, just sucked out degenerates now. They're against society, they're doing all this stuff, and you just can't thrive with that type of attitude and that type of presence, you know, and demand a livable wage now, which is 140K a year. She cannot demand a livable wage. She has no choice but to be poor. And we're talking about millions upon millions of people in America are living this type of life. As inflation rises 10% at least, and you know, a year. I mean, at this rate, this year it's going to be like a 15%. How the heck does someone like this survive? How does this person not bite your freaking head off?
Because what the is that? $3.27 an hour. I would have to work over 3 hours just to afford 12 eggs. And you think our generation can afford rent? You think that we're just lazy and we don't want to work? Yeah, you.
What should be considered an livable wage? You guys tell me. Are we talking about essentials, food, clothing, and shelter and utilities? Or are we taking into account streaming services, internet, you know, being able to actually get out of the house and get a Happy Meal every now and then?
You know, I'm convinced $4 an hour is the new 18. What you used to do for $18 an hour and how you could live, now you pretty much have to make 40 to do the same thing. Anytime you have any kind of come up or raise, they just tax you more and everything gets more expensive. It's almost like it's designed so you can't get ahead. But you know, you got people paying $400,000 to $450,000 for a 2,000 square foot house, 3 bedroom, 2 bath, and what is your payment on that a month? $2,400?
Okay, quick math. $40 an hour in a 40-hour work week. You're talking about $1,600 before taxes. Say you don't miss a day in that job and you work the whole month. That's let's see, that is $40 times an 8-hour day. That's $320 times 21.67 days in the month that you can work. All right. So what is that, chat? What is that, chat? That is. Let's see here. What is that? So, $40 times 8 times 21.67. That's $6,934 a month times 12 months out of the year. You're making $83,000 a year. That is still. That is. That is $57,000 a year under the poverty line. This guy right here is saying 40. He pretty much is like, hey, $40 would be amazing. $40 an hour would be sick. Would be incredible, bro. I mean, that's still $57,000 underneath the poverty line, guys. This is serious. Like, no one's real. Is anyone thinking like what is this? Is the inflation is crushing people?
It's just, that's insane. People paying $100,000 for an SUV, and 9 out of 10 of them don't make it 50,000 miles before some major recall. Like, how do we even get to this point? And you've always got those people that say, $4, that is excellent money. Yeah, if we were still living in the 1980s, Margaret, but it's 2025. The economy's trash, everything's expensive, and like I said, the system is designed so you can't get ahead.
But bro, he can't even do math. Like, I mean, he doesn't even know what he's up against. He's saying, "Oh my goodness, this is crazy, chat." I'm just looking at this stuff because we're sitting here in a crypto market. We're sitting here in a crypto market that we can't really tell, is it a bull or a bear? I'm kind of under the impression that we're coming out of a bear market. Now, based on what Crypto Gains has said, we'll watch this video in a little bit, but I'm just saying, guys, how do we have retail come into this market and pump our backs? I don't see it happening. Even with the stimmy checks. You think Shalonius thinks we're going to pump with or without retail? All right, I'd like to explore that, but I like to think I'm going to say we're on the lines of saying forget about retail. I don't think they're going to be here. I don't think they're going to be here because this is insane. There's no way these people are buying crypto.
Can someone explain to me why is it that the minimum wage is not a livable wage? Because I'm not really understanding, and maybe someone can explain it to me because it really doesn't make any sense. Here in the state of Florida, the minimum wage is $12 an hour. And I understand that most people do not get paid minimum wage. A lot of people get paid more than minimum wage. But here's the problem with that. A lot of companies think that they're being generous because they're paying above the minimum wage, when minimum wage is literally like on the floor in hell. Like, you cannot live on minimum wage. If you are getting paid minimum wage, you need government assistance. You are living in poverty. You are making less than $20,000 a year. Not one person can survive on that. You're making less than $20,000 a year working full time. Why is that the minimum wage?
Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into a
That's
topic
crazy.
so many of us are living through.
People are always job hopping because companies think these little 2 to 4% salary increases mean something. With the cost of inflation, I'm sorry, 2 to 3% ain't gonna cut it if they want to keep talent.
That somebody that works at Buc-ee's or Costco.
And that's the thing. I just looked at ChatGPT. You know, the standard raise for for someone in my business, which is commercial services, the standard raise is 4 to 5%, which is about, in the grand scheme of things for someone making, minimum wage is like maybe like $30 to $60 raise on your monthly income. That's insane. Like, even though it's it's fair on paper, inflation has crushed that. I mean, you would have to pay people now like maybe 2, 3, 4x what they're getting paid in terms of a raise in order to help them survive like the next couple of years. Otherwise, they're just going to quit on you. And that's why, that's why people, businesses are looking at AI and stuff like that. Because how do you plan as a company for the future when you have people working for you that are not going to be able to have a living wage and also have your company thrive and actually make a profit? You know what I mean? Like, that's insane. They've made it, America has made it to where it's now going to be probably a necessity to have AI come in and save these companies, because these companies will go under because they're not going to have anybody work for them anyway, because they're not going to be able to afford it. Isn't that crazy? That's nuts.